Alright, it's time for a quick little discussion video today. So today I want to talk about the ability Illuminate in Pokemon, and specifically in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, it appears that all of the overworld abilities no longer function. So if I'm not mistaken, abilities like Synchronize no longer synchronize abilities, Flame Body no longer boosts the amount of time that or speeds up the amount of time it takes to hatch eggs, and moves like Magnapole don't attract more steel types, moves like Compound Eyes don't increase the drop rate of items from Pokemon, etc. So with that being said, the ability Illuminate is a very interesting case then, because all of the previously mentioned abilities do have in-game effects. Even something like Pickup, which I'm not sure if that even works in the game. The ability Pickup has an in-game effect, but Illuminate only has an out-of-game effect. It says that if you are in if the Pokemon is the first place in your party, then your wild encounter rate will increase by 100%. And it shares this trait with Arena Trap and No Guard. But Arena Trap and No Guard, they both have in-game effects. But Illuminate has no in-battle effect. So it's only useful for finding more wild Pokemon, and that's it. It's a pretty bad ability as it stands, since most people generally don't want to find more wild Pokemon anyway. So they would prefer to have something like Stench or something that drives away Pokemon, not makes the wild encounter rate go up. Now, an increased complication in this is that, as far as I can tell, the Scarlet and Violet encounters, because they're all overworld, and not like hidden in tall grass randomly, they wouldn't need such an ability as well. Right? Illuminate says that I'm going to increase your encounter rate. Well, my encounter rate is determined by the spawns in a certain area, and they're all going to spawn in the overworld, so there's no random chance to it. Therefore, Illuminate's not going to be able to boost it unless it specifically ordered the game to increase the number of spawns in a certain area, which I suppose it could do, but I think that might add extra complications and or bugs into the game, and so it probably isn't going to have any kind of real, they're not going to want to have that kind of effect. Now, my first question when I thought about Illuminate is, are there any Illuminate Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet currently? And the answer to that question is no. So the Pokemon with Illuminate you can see up on your screen right now, and none of those Pokemon are going to be in the base game. Now, it's possible that they get added in with DLC, especially if Pokemon decides to move away from wild encounters. This is a problem they're going to have to overcome at some point, be it today, be it tomorrow, be it 5,000 years from now. They're going to have to fix this problem at some point, assuming they don't have wild encounters. So, I think that you could overcome this problem in one of a few ways. The first way is that you do force more overworld encounters with an Illuminate Pokemon in the front of your party. This is, in theory, a possibility. I don't think this is a particularly good possibility, though. One thing that it would do is, if I'm not mistaken, is it would increase its shiny odds. Because if shinies are shown in the overworld, and I increase the number of Pokemon in the overworld, then it'll be a lot faster for me to just run through, see if any are shiny, go out, despawn them, come back, and then rinse, repeat. So I don't know if they'd want to do that. The next option is that they give Illuminate an in-battle ability. For an example, they could make Illuminate like No Guard, where because I have illuminated the field, maybe it's harder for the Pokemon to hide or evade, and therefore I have 100% accuracy on my moves. Something like that. That's a possibility. Or it could act like Flash, where it decreases the accuracy of the opposing Pokemon, which would be really annoying. And as opposed to something like Sandveil, would be something that the Pokemon, for example, Starmie, when I come in with Starmie, if I just make it so that the opposing Pokemon has an evasion drop, then that could either be in a stat boost or a stat drop that is visible, or an invisible stat drop. In the former case, I guess the Pokemon could switch out, but it would force a switch on their part to get rid of that drop. In the latter case, it would act more like Sandveil, in which case no amount of switching would protect me from Illuminate as long as Starmie was in. And that seems broken. So I hope they don't implement it like that. The next option is that they could replace Illuminate with a new ability entirely. And then Starmie or Lantern or whatever could have an entirely different option for an ability. And personally, this is the option I'm hoping that they go with, because even though I suppose Illuminate could just be reskinned to be something else, I think this would, in theory, open up a whole host of possibilities for these Pokemon to get something new and wonderful that we haven't thought about yet. And maybe that love can be shared with some other Pokemon as well. Maybe something like Ampharos could use a new ability. Give it something, give Starmie something like Flashing Light, because it has a gem that flashes, and then you can give that to Ampharos as well. Maybe it says you get a +1 to all psychic, electric, and water attacks or something. I don't know. Just making something up. Do something that we haven't thought of yet. This gives them a free slot to fill in this instance. But that's all I really had to talk about today. I just think it's interesting that this does leave Starmie open, as well as I suppose Lantern and Shiinotic to being buffed in the future. And Illuminate before has not really been an ability that anybody's ever wanted or used. And Starmie does have some good abilities, as well as Lantern. And even Shiinotic has Effect Spore, which it can use to some extent. So a lot of the Pokemon that have Illuminate don't really care one way or the other. But if they get something more busted in the future, that could be quite interesting. Anyway, that'll be it for me today, and I'll catch you guys next time.